I should have known this would happen. From the moment I laid eyes on her, my fate had already been decided. My father had spent his life building a legacy, one I was meant to inherit. But in his eyes, I had made an unforgivable mistake. I had fallen in love with the wrong woman, and for that he cast me out. I still remember the way he looked at me when I told him. The disappointment, the rage, the silence so heavy it crushed the air between us. "You have disgraced this family," he said, his voice colder than I had ever heard it. "You are no longer my son." I had known he wouldn't approve. I had known he had plans for me, a future carved in stone, a life dictated by duty and obedience. But I never thought he would erase me. I never thought he would banish me from the only life I had ever known. She was the reason, the woman who ruined me or saved me. She wasn't of noble blood. She wasn't the woman my father had chosen for me. She was fire and rebellion. She was everything I had never been allowed to have. And she loved me in a way that made me question everything. For the first time in my life, I had chosen for myself. And that choice had cost me everything. I left the house that day with nothing but the clothes on my back. No title, no fortune, no future. But as I walked away, leaving behind the walls that had once kept me safe, I realized something. I wasn't afraid. Because even though my father had thrown me out, she was still waiting for me. And maybe, just maybe, losing everything was the only way I could truly live. The streets felt different beneath my feet. I had walked them 1,000 times before, but never like this. Never as a man without a home, without a name, without the weight of my father's expectations pressing down on me. For the first time, I was free. But at what cost? I had spent my entire life following orders, speaking only when spoken to, obeying the rules of a world I had never chosen. And yet, all it had taken was one woman, one love, one decision. And I had lost everything. Or had I? Because the moment my father told me to leave, I realized something. Everything I had before had been his. His money, his power, his control. Now I had nothing but my own choices, and I would not regret the one that led me to her. She didn't know what had happened yet. She didn't know that loving her had cost me my family, my inheritance, my future. But I knew one thing. I had to see her. I had to tell her. I had to make her understand that no matter what I had lost, she was worth it. The thought gave me strength. As I made my way through the winding streets, past people who no longer saw me as anything special. I was no longer the heir to my father's empire. I was just a man in love. And now, I had to find the woman who had changed everything. When I reached her home, I hesitated. This was a world apart from the one I had come from. No marble floors, no towering ceilings, no servants waiting for my command. Just a simple door, standing between us. I lifted my hand to knock, hesitated for only a second, then let my knuckles rap against the wood. The weight felt endless. Then, the creak of hinges, the soft glow of candlelight spilling onto the street, and finally her, standing there, staring at me, her eyes filled with surprise, with worry, with something I couldn't yet name. She opened her mouth to speak, but I beat her to it. He threw me out. The words came easier than I thought they would. Her breath caught. I saw the way she reached for me before she even realized she had moved. And in that instant, I knew. Whatever happened next, I wasn't facing it alone. She didn't speak right away. For a moment, we just stood there, the flickering light from inside casting soft shadows between us. I could see the questions in her eyes, the fear, the guilt, but I didn't want her to carry that weight. Not when I had made my decision, long before my father ever uttered those words. "Come inside," she finally whispered, stepping aside. I did, and with that one step, I left behind the last piece of the life I once knew, a world that was now mine. She stood just a few feet away, arms wrapped around herself as if bracing for whatever came next. "Tell me everything," she said, her voice steady but soft. So I did. I told her about my father's anger, about the way he looked at me as if I was already a stranger, about the moment I realized I was no longer his son, just a mistake he had cast out of his world. And when I was done, she exhaled slowly, as if she had been holding her breath the entire time. I never wanted this for you, she murmured. Her voice held sorrow, but also something else, a kind of quiet strength. I stepped closer, my heart pounding. I did, I admitted, because for the first time, I had chosen something for myself, and I would not regret it. She reached for my hand, fingers hesitant at first, then firm. What now? I didn't have an answer. Not yet, but as I looked into her eyes, I knew one thing. I wasn't alone in this, and that meant everything. We sat together in the dim candlelight, the silence heavy with unspoken fears. The reality of what we had done was sinking in. I had no title to protect me, no wealth to fall back on, no idea what my father would do next. He won't just let this go, she said, reading my thoughts as if they were her own. She was right. My father wasn't the kind of man who accepted betrayal, and to him that's exactly what I had done. I had defied him, humiliated him, destroyed the future he had planned for me, and I knew, without a doubt, he wasn't finished with me yet. Then, we have to leave, I said, the words tasting like something final. Her brows knit together, hesitation flickering across her face. Go where? That, I didn't know, but staying wasn't an option. Not when my father's reach could still pull me back into his grasp, or worse. I exhaled slowly, knowing this was the moment everything changed. Wherever we go together. She didn't answer with words. She didn't have to. The way she laced her fingers with mine was answer enough. By the time we stepped outside, the streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that felt unnatural. I pulled my hood lower, my heart pounding. Somewhere in the dark, my father's men were looking for me. I could feel it. The palace wouldn't let me go so easily, and if they found us before we left the city, this would be the end. She reached for my hand, her grip strong, unshaken. Are you ready? She whispered. I wasn't. How could I be? I had no idea what waited for us beyond these walls. But maybe that was enough. Let's go, I said, and as we slipped into the shadows, I realized something. My father had thrown me out, but he hadn't destroyed me. I was still here, and for the first time, I would decide what happened next.